receive our friendly greetings. If you have just discovered our channel, we invite you to subscribe and activate the notification bell. Note that we are a company working in immigration to Canada, by informing you, guiding you and assisting you so that you succeed in your immigration project in Canada. Today's video is dedicated to the chapters of natural disasters in Canada. And for your sake, we humbly ask you to watch it until the end if you ever plan to go to Canada. Before we begin, we ask you, once again, to subscribe to Canada Sans Frontière. This will save you from huge losses. Canada borders on 3 oceans, stretches across 6 time zones, encompasses mountains, plains, forests and tundra. It hosts weather patterns that range from Arctic to moderate, from seemingly endless rains to drought, from numbing cold to heat waves. With all those landforms and weather types, the possibilities of severe weather and geological events are a constant reality. When a natural hazard affects Canada's residents to the extent that the community involved needs assistance dealing with the harm that has occurred to people, and possibly the surrounding property and environment, the event becomes known as a disaster. Volcanic eruptions. Volcanoes may seem to be non-existent in Canada. There has been only one documented volcanic eruption in Canada in more recent historical times, but there are many dormant volcanoes in Canada. The entire Western Cordillera remains geologically active. Therefore, the possibility of an eruption, even a large explosive one, cannot be ruled out. Canada's most significant volcanic risk comes from explosive eruptions in adjacent Washington and Alaska. Prevailing winds would blow the ash into Canada, as has happened in the past. Ash fallout would cause respiratory ailments for people and a hazard to any technology. Ash plumes can also adversely affect air traffic, such as in the 2010 Icelandic volcano eruption. Icebergs, sea ice and fog. Much of Canada's coastline has permanent or seasonal sea ice. Like icebergs, but less so, sea ice can be a hazard to offshore structures, fishing and navigation. It can be either fast ice, which stays close to shore, or drift ice, which moves around and grinds together with great force to form ridges. The Arctic Ocean around the North Pole is covered with permanent sea ice. Each winter, the Arctic ice pack expands as temperatures plummet. Fog is another ocean hazard. Found near the surface of land or water, this dense mass of water droplets threatens transportation of any kind. The worst maritime disaster in Canadian history was the fog-related collision. Fog forms when warm humid air is cooled below its dew point, the temperature at which water vapor condenses to form water droplets. As the air mass is cooled from below, a strong inversion is created. Colder air is trapped below the warmer air, causing the fog to persist. Tornadoes. Tornadoes are unmistakable rotating columns of high-velocity wind that brings devastation to anything in their path. They are difficult to predict. Sometimes they move quickly and can leave a wide swath of destruction. At other times the tornado is small, touching down sporadically and leaving a haphazard path of damage. In either case they can uproot trees, flip cars and demolish houses. Canada probably gets more tornadoes than any other country with the exception of the United States. Most tornadoes occur in June and July, and although their season extends from April to September, they can occur at any time of year. They frequently develop in mid-afternoon to early evening. Environment Canada warns the public about tornadoes, but because they are hard to predict and can move at up to 70 km/h, a tornado can strike without warning. Typically, a tornado is preceded by a severe thunderstorm and is associated with black skies, strong winds, lightning, thunder and heavy rain or hail. Sometimes the sky will turn an unusual green color and the wind will sound like a freight train. There is protection from a tornado. Most deaths and injury occur when buildings collapse or when people are struck by flying debris, especially glass. So it is best to get quickly into a well-supported basement area. If this is not possible, a room with strong walls will do, such as a bathroom or under a stairwell. If you are outside, crouch or lie down in a ditch. Houses collapse most often because of improper anchoring of walls to foundations and roofs to walls. Mobile homes and cottages are the most susceptible to damage, because they are generally not anchored and are constructed to lower standards. Because most tornadoes spin counterclockwise, moving along an east to northeast path, the winds on the south side of the tornado are stronger. Vortices inside a main tornado can follow a looping trail, rather than a straight line. They do not always stay on the ground but skip along, destroying one house and leaving neighbors untouched. Landslides and avalanches. Landslides and avalanches have resulted in more than 600 deaths in Canada, and have caused billions of dollars in damage. These mass movements of soil, rock or snow occur in all parts of the country, in mountains and flatlands, and usually without warning. Hazards include the impact of rapidly moving debris, the collapse of ground beneath a structure, and secondary effects such as river damming and landslide-generated waves. Landslides and avalanches are defined according to the size or type of debris generated, distance moved, speed of flow and underlying geology. There are 8 major types that occur in Canada: rock avalanches, debris avalanches, snow avalanches, flow slides, rock slides, rock falls, debris flows and slumps. Surprising to most, they don't only occur on a steep mountain slope. Many parts of Canada face some form of avalanche or landslide hazard. A rock avalanche is the disintegration of a large rock mass on a mountain slope and its rapid movement downhill. Debris avalanches involve the rapid mass movements of rock originating on the slopes of volcanoes. A rock slide occurs when a rock mass moves on a sliding surface but does not travel far. Rockfalls are also very common. A rockfall occurs when a smaller rock mass breaks free and disintegrates into blocks that bounce and roll down steep slopes. Each year, there are reports of snow avalanches burying skiers and hikers or closing highways and rail lines. Defensive works, such as rerouting roads and railway tracks and triggering safe avalanches in dangerous snow packs, have helped to reduce the hazard. Floods. Floods are the most costly natural disasters in Canada in terms of property damage. They can occur in any region, in the countryside or in cities, at virtually any time of the year. They have affected hundreds of thousands of Canadians. Most flooding occurs when the flow of water in a river or stream exceeds its channel. Floods also occur along the shoreline of lakes and oceans when water rises after high runoff, storm surge or the hammering of waves. Fluctuations in water levels are natural occurrences. People generally relate high water levels to flood conditions if the water threatens homes and lives, industry and our critical infrastructure, such as bridges, roads, pipelines and power sources. Perhaps the most common cause of flooding is the accumulation of winter precipitation. Snow, sleet or hail sits frozen for several months, only to run off during the few short weeks of spring thaw. During this period, heavy rain, ice jams on rivers or a heavy snow cover and rapid melt can cause flooding. Next to spring thaw, heavy storm rainfall is the most common cause of flooding. Heavy rains caused by thunderstorms or warm, moist air rising rapidly can produce flash floods. The tropical storms and hurricanes of Canada also carry the risk of heavy precipitation. In Canada's mountains, heavy rain on steep slopes often results in flooding. Rain and melting snow in the mountains can cause channels to overflow or cause mud or debris flows as loose debris is swept up. Flash floods can also happen when water breaks out from a lake that was blocked by a glacier, earthen mass or a human-made structure. Prairie flood severity depends on depth of snow, snow water content when it starts to melt, how much moisture was in the soil in the fall and the extent of ground frost. Spring rainfalls and sudden warming can increase the potential of flooding. The potential for flooding exists in many urban areas because Canadian cities developed along rivers, lakes and harbors due to the convenience of commerce and transportation. Federal, provincial and territorial governments have designated a number of flood-prone areas in Canada. This was done to map out areas of high flood risk, to restrict development or redevelopment in these areas and to encourage local authorities to zone on the basis of flood risk. Subscribe to Canada Sans Frontière. This will save you from huge losses. Earthquakes. Earthquakes are perhaps the most dangerous of all natural hazards. They resulted in the loss of more than 1 million lives worldwide during the 20th century. Though they are not widely recognized here as a major hazard, each year more than 50 earthquakes occur that are strong enough to be felt by Canadians. A further 1,400 smaller earthquakes are recorded each year by sensitive monitoring equipment. Past events have not resulted in greater property damage and heavier casualties primarily because a large earthquake has yet to strike a heavily populated area in Canada. Although earthquakes cannot be prevented or predicted, their effects can be reduced by constructing buildings to withstand the shaking that might occur. Seismologists, the scientists who study earthquakes, use a magnitude scale to measure the amount of energy released by an earthquake. And that's the Richter scale. A Richter magnitude of less than 3.5 is generally not felt. Magnitude 5.5 to 6.0 will cause slight damage to nearby buildings, but a magnitude of 7.0 or more is a major earthquake that could cause widespread damage. Hail. Hail forms in the core of a thunderstorm. Water vapor in warm, rapidly rising air masses, convection currents, condenses into water at higher, cooler altitudes producing heavy rain showers. If it is cold enough, ice crystals can form around minute particles such as dust whipped up from the ground. These increase in size as more water freezes onto their surfaces. When the ice pellets are too heavy for the ascending air currents to lift, they fall as hail. They may become larger, heavier and more damaging if they collect more water on the way down. Hailstones have a minimum diameter of half a centimeter. Below that they are defined as snow or ice pellets. Hail can grow larger than 10 centimeters, the size of a grapefruit. Hail can hit the ground at 130 kilometers per hour and can cause severe damage to crops, houses and vehicles as well as injuries to people and animals. Hail can be like a shotgun blast from the sky. Hail occurs in the strong updrafts needed to form thunderstorms, which tend to occur in warm weather. Therefore, damaging hailstorms generally only happen in Canada from May to October. These types of sudden violent hailstorm are well remembered, but equally important are the frequent smaller storms throughout the summer growing season. These can be devastating to fruit, vegetable and grain crops. Some regions of Canada can expect up to 10 hailstorms a year. To reduce the damage caused by hail, governments and insurance companies have sponsored cloud seeding, which is aimed at creating smaller, softer hailstones. Winter storms. Winter storms are a reality for all parts of Canada. These severe storms typically involve a sustained combination of heavy snowfall, cold temperatures and high winds. Whiteouts, drifting and blowing snow with heavy accumulations cause many hardships. When winter precipitation falls as freezing rain or drizzle, heavy ice accumulations, ice storms, can also cause significant damage, especially when accompanied by high winds. Tsunamis and storm surges. Tsunamis and storm surges are caused by different events, but both result in flooding and damage to coastal areas. Tsunamis are immense sea waves, of 10 meters or more, which are produced by underwater events such as earthquakes, mudslides and volcanic eruptions. They start out small in the open seas but amplify in size as they reach shallow water. Storm surges are elevated sea levels produced by intense marine low-pressure systems. Storm surges at times of high tides can lead to coastal flooding and are often accompanied by large ocean waves. So that brings us to the end of our presentation on natural disasters in Canada. Note that the objective of our presentation is to provide you with complete and sufficient information so that you can know, from the outset, in which region you are residing in Canada to better succeed in your immigration project in Canada. Remember to subscribe to Canada Sans Frontière if you haven't already. Note that you earn a lot by subscribing to CCSF. See you in the next episode for more. Until then, be well. Canada Sans Frontière, immigrate to Canada with confidence.